All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing today? Good, awesome. I'm glad you guys are all here today for our session number 7 of City University. It's remarkable how quickly these sessions are just flying by, and it's hard to believe that we are already over halfway through the program. So tonight we are going to go ahead and officially kick off here at 5:30. Again, thank you all for being here again. For those of you that are here today, again, my name is Bolivar Gomez with the City of Port St. Lucie, serving as the official host for City University. And before we go ahead and get, you guys are the best. Thank you. I appreciate that. Before we get started, I just have a couple of announcements that I want to mention to you guys. As a reminder, this Friday is the final day to sign up for our City University tours. So if you haven't done so already, go ahead and do that. The deadline is Friday at 1 p.m. And our tours actually kick off next week. We'll have 2 tours. We'll have one on Tuesday at 10 a.m. And then also on Thursday at 3 p.m., we will be taking another tour at that point in time. So still just 2 more days to sign up to attend those. And I know most of you have already done that. I see there's already a large group for each of those tours that have signed up. But if anyone has not done so, please go ahead and do that before Friday. Also, later this week, I will be emailing out the registration link to attend our City University graduation dinner. So even though we are just a couple of weeks away from our graduation dinner, we do want to go ahead and get a head count for the caterer for that night on November 1st, and also, make sure to give you guys enough time to sign up to attend that as well. So we are reaching the end of the City University program, which I'm a little sad about, but we have just a couple more weeks before that graduation dinner. Also, you will be able to bring a guest as well, so just keep that in mind. We will allow you to bring one guest for the graduation dinner, so you all can receive your certificate at that point in time as well. So on that note, those are the only announcements that I have at this point in time, but I will be back up here, of course, throughout the whole night. So we will go ahead and officially kick off for tonight's City University session. And tonight, we actually have a special guest that has joined us this evening to provide opening remarks. And that is our very own Councilman Anthony Bonna is here with us tonight. And to provide a little bit of background on Councilman Bonna as he makes his way up here, Anthony actually grew up right here in our community. And he was also involved with Little League, such as playing in Little League sports at Whispering Pines Park here locally, as well as Lingay Park. He also earned his Eagle Scout rank with Boy Scout Troop 445 and attended our local public schools here in St. Lucie County, attending Windmill Point Elementary School, St. Lucie West Middle School, and St. Lucie West Centennial High School. Also in 2013, Anthony came back home to our community after college, and in 2018, Anthony was appointed by Florida's governor to represent Port St. Lucie residents on the St. Lucie County Commission. And in 2021, he was appointed to serve on the Port St. Lucie City Council. So here tonight to provide opening remarks, it is my pleasure to introduce a good friend of mine, Mr. Anthony Bonna. Welcome, Anthony.
Well, so thank you very much, and I want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight to be involved in your local city government. One of the things that we notice as we approach various issues facing our community is that very few residents take the time and opportunity to be involved in city government, and so thank you for being some of the few. And with this knowledge that you're gaining over the course of this City University comes a great responsibility to share what you are learning with your friends and neighbors throughout the community, because as we all learn about the city and how it works, it just enhances the community and makes it so much better. And so thank you for your participation, but please don't let it end with the graduation dinner. I hope that many of you will serve on boards, maybe even on council one day. So a little bit, and Bolivar went into some of my background, and I do represent District 3, which is the southwestern portion of the city of Port St. Lucie. I was actually elected in a special election in December of 2021 when the mayor, she was the previous District 3 representative, and so I won in 2021 and was reelected in 2022. But some of the reason, you might think, what all this guy accomplished was he was on a little league team, what's he doing on the city council? But one of the reasons I include some of the things in the community that I did as, when I was younger growing up here, is because it's part of the motivation that I have to serve. So, and as I came back to this community, which many of my peers were not doing, because there weren't job opportunities for them here, which is some of the things that we're trying to address. When I came back to the community, I wanted to give back to those organizations that helped form me. So I received a lot of scholarships. So I serve on the board of the St. Lucie County Education Foundation. I attended Georgetown University, and so now I interview students in our community that want to attend Georgetown. I serve on the Eagle Scout Board of Review Committee, and I received a Rotary scholarship when I was a kid, and I've been a Rotary member since 2015. I was very active in my church growing up, and I've been on the parish council, and I've been in the Knights of Columbus for a long time. And as I was doing this, I says, I want to give back to the community in a bigger way through public service. And so in 2018, there was an opportunity. There was a vacancy on the county commission. There was a thorough application process and vetting process, and I was selected to serve those 8 months on the county commission. And I really found out how much I enjoyed serving in local government and how much of a difference that you can make, because local government is the government closest to the people. And so serving those 8 months on the county commission really taught me a lot about how planning works, how the budget process works. And so when there was an opportunity to serve in the city of Port St. Lucie, I was very happy to step up and serve. And so I enjoy serving. Now, what does that service include? When I'm considering things from a policy perspective, I consider kind of a balance, or I referred to it as a three-legged stool on, when we were going through these millage and budget processes. On the one hand, we are always focusing on running the most efficient government possible in the city, and we have that strong focus on doing the very best that we can for the taxpayer. We have the third lowest tax rate out of the top 20 largest cities in the state of Florida. This year, we reduced our millage, the largest out of any of those 20 cities, and we were already the third lowest. And so that is a focus. But we also are a growing community, and with that comes public safety needs and transportation and infrastructure needs. And so those are the three biggest parts of what we do. We've seen construction costs increase 40 to 60% with inflation. So as we're trying to meet the needs of our growing community, we had one, and you'll interact with the PD next week or next month, I believe, next week, and we've had consistently, even though we've been one of the safest cities in Florida, we've had one of the lowest officers per 1,000 ratio. Now, that's something that needs to increase, because even though it's working now, if we don't address and we don't catch up, then it becomes a problem, and then things. So we need to be proactive, and that's why we've invested in 30 new positions in our PD in this year's budget. So we also, if I could add a fourth leg to the chair, the stool, it would be those quality of life issues and those amenities that enhance our community and make us competitive. The biggest example of that is our parks and the programming in the Parks and Recreation Department. And then the other aspects to the job, it's mostly, we have a council manager form of government, as I'm sure you all know. And really one of the biggest aspects of my job is, one, communication, simple things like and two, service. I have people reach out to me about code issues, planning issues, their tax bill, and those kind of things. And so I really see it as a service position. Government can be confusing. There's so many layers of government. There's so many different policies and organizations. And so I see my role as kind of helping residents make sense of it all and navigate through those issues, because government shouldn't be complicated. It's to serve a purpose. It should be efficient, and cutting through that red tape is part of the responsibility. And so I think communication is really a key portion of this job, and there's been a lot of residents who understandably are frustrated with their tax bill. That's been in my head recently because it's one of the most recent issues we've dealt with. There's 16 taxing authorities on there. There's fees. There's ad valorem, non-ad valorem, and the city controls two lines on that bill, and so I've went through the bill with a lot of our residents, and most of our homesteaded residents, when I go through it with them, discover they're actually paying less in city taxes this year than they were in 2020. But for other taxing authorities, that's not necessarily the case. And then our newer residents are really hit the hardest because they're not getting the benefit of all of those years of being homesteaded. And unfortunately, during I know it's disclosed, but it's not really made clear a lot of times, or highlighted during the sale process what the difference in the tax bill will be. Well, I have talked a lot, so I don't know if I went overboard, but I just wanted to kind of he told me to give a little background and overview. Time for maybe a question or two, and otherwise I'll let you guys get started.
Does anybody have any questions for Councilman Bonna while he's still up here? No, even personal questions for him? No. Yeah, that's right. We did have Michelle Franklin for session number, I believe, 2. And she was great. Yeah, she provided a lot of good information for the trim notice. Definitely.
Perfect.
No? Okay.
Thank you all, and really appreciate you all being here. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Thank you. I'm just to tack on to what Councilman Bonna said. I'm glad he actually mentioned, he mentioned several issues, topics, but I'm glad that he also mentioned PD, because the police department will be our next session next week on Wednesday, and they will go into a little more detail as far as like the staffing needs and the request that was recently made to council. And he mentioned the several positions that they will be receiving, so you'll be hearing more about that next week with the police department. All right, so we will go ahead and start off with our first special presentation for tonight. We have here with us tonight our Economic Development Administrator, Elijah Wooten, who's going to go into our small business support programs. And before he actually gets up here, just by a show of hands, is anyone here a local business that owns a local business here? I see one hand in the back. Awesome. Okay. Is anyone here looking to start a local business anytime soon? Maybe? No? Okay. Well, if this presentation may actually change your minds, and I think that's the year that we're in now, there's just so many opportunities to start a local business, even working remotely from home, and just the different options that are available now. It's truly fascinating the way that people can actually start operating their own businesses in 2023. So hopefully this gives you guys some ideas, or if you know of anyone that might start a business in the near future, this certainly could provide them with some information. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to, like I said, Elijah Wooten, who will go over our small business support programs for the city of Port St. Lucie. Welcome, Elijah.
Again, thanks again, Boulevard. Doesn't he have a radio voice when you hear him? Yeah. My name is Elijah Wooten. I'm the city's economic development administrator. I work in the city manager's office. So my job is primarily in 3 areas. I know previously you heard from Jennifer Davis, who's our CRA director. A number of our economic development projects are in the Tradition or Southern Grove area of the CRA. So, I work closely with Jen Davis and her team, as well as our what I call development departments, our building department, planning and zoning department, utility systems department, Public Works Department and outside groups like the Fire District and Florida Power and Light to try to accelerate development with our economic development projects. So the first of which was TAMCO, or City Electric Supply, next to Kaiser University, where we're able to help them in consolidating 5 locations into one large building to be more efficient in their operations and their expansion. In order to gain access to the property, we were able to get funding through the state, through their Florida Job Growth Grant Program, to provide $3 million to build the road to access the property. And we've been fortunate to get additional funding from the state on the southern end in Legacy Park and state appropriations to build the infrastructure. So businesses like Amazon and FedEx and Cheney Brothers and unannounced projects that are in the area can open up and create jobs. The city of Port St. Lucie County, around 62% of the residents travel outside of the county to work. And so the council, is very desirous of creating opportunities so people can live and work here in Port St. Lucie. And so part of the job is economic development, working closely with our Economic Development Council as they are bringing prospects to the city, whether that's helping with identifying sites and doing site tours, whether that's assisting with incentives that they are requesting to help attract them to Port St. Lucie, and then monitoring their job creation requirements once they've opened up, operations. The second part of the job is what I classify more as business navigation services. So, if you have a business that you're looking to open up and you're going through the process of getting site plans and permitting, then I work closely with those departments to see where you are in the process, and then see, if you are stuck, how we get you unstuck. If there are issues that you need to have addressed so the departments can approve your applications. Are there things that we can do to streamline the process? Whatever it takes to kind of get businesses up and operating, which I classify more as business navigation. So when I first started at the city, that was the actual title I started under, was the city's business navigator. But because of the growth that we had in the jobs corridor and also in Midway Business Center, I got shifted more into economic development. And then the last part is what I'll speak about tonight is small business. So we work a lot with organizations like the Florida Small Business Development Center, Minority Business Development Agency Business Center, SCORE, and we venture, which is a women's business center, to work with our small businesses to provide either training or counseling. Yeah, did I do it right? Oh, here we go. So again, in terms of the partners, we work internally with our business tax office as well as our procurement management division and external groups like the Chamber of Commerce. The city did fund a small business assistance program with the chamber. So again, what we try to work with companies that are very early in the process, having them speak with the chamber and having the chamber guide them through the process of getting their business tax receipt. The business tax receipt process is 3 layers. They normally would contact our business tax office, but then our planning and zoning department would also need to confirm that what they want to do at that location can be allowed by zoning. And then they also would contact our building department to just check the interior space that they're going to occupy to make certain that it's compliant with the Florida Building Code, depending on the type of occupancy and use that they would have. And then they, get their business tax receipt. But again, you're a business owner, you may or may not know of all our steps and processes. And so the Chamber's, small business assistance program is there to support you. So in terms of our business mix, we have about 9,000 business tax receipts. These are comprised of both commercial locations as well as home-based businesses. In terms of support programs, as I mentioned previously, we work with outside groups that provide training and support to small businesses as well as programs the city offers. So I'll briefly touch on some of those. Actually, this evening, we do have our Business Accelerator program. That is a 10-week course that's offered at Indian River State College, the Pruitt campus. And it's for new and existing businesses. And so it's a course offered through the college, but actually the instructors come from the Florida Small Business Development Center. So they cover issues like time management, also social media and marketing, bookkeeping, And as a part of the course, we've also included a small business grant. So for businesses that successfully complete the Business Accelerator program, of the 10 courses, at least attending 7, they're eligible to apply for a reimbursement grant up to $5,000. Of course, the business has to be located in the city of Port St. Lucie and have a business tax receipt in the city. But, that grant can cover things like advertising and marketing, employee training, professional services, and purchase of inventory and supplies. And so I'll go a little bit over that program. Again, our business tax office does offer free workshops for small businesses. And again, when I'm saying workshops for small businesses, even if you're an aspiring business owner or an entrepreneur, you haven't actually started the business yet, but want to understand what the process is, these also would be applicable to you. And the program we started a couple of years ago is before you sign the lease. One of the things we found out is that some businesses, unfortunately, inadvertently get themselves in a position where they sign a lease to then find out that they can't open, at that location because it's not allowed by planning and zoning, or they can, but they have to retrofit the space that's may, blow the budget. They may have to spend an additional $20,000 or $50,000 in design fees and construction fees to retrofit a space, and that may, take them out of that. So what we try to do is set up a workshop which we meet quarterly. Our next one will be October 24th, which is Tuesday, and we normally hold these over at the building department in the training room from 11 to 12:30. But at that workshop, again, the chamber will give a presentation on our small business assistance program. We'll also have one of our planners from planning and zoning, describing, use and zoning, as well as our compliance review process. Our building department will also describe if you're going into a commercial space, and these are really more for people that are not doing brand new construction, but are going into existing buildings, things they need to consider to be compliant, with the building code. And then our business tax office, wraps it up just explaining what that process entails of applying for a business tax receipt and other things that are germane to small businesses. And then lastly, we have our buy local program, which is in 2 components. We want to try to, as much as possible, promote our businesses to vendors that are doing business with the city, as well as some of the major developers that are building in the city. And so we've tried a few programs through the Treasure Coast Business Summit, where we've had a vendor open house, had our departments come out to speak with small businesses and understand how we do business and how they can, do business with the city. And then we also started a subcontractor open house where we invite some of the vendors or developers that are actually looking for the different construction trades to meet with our small business owners to talk about opportunities. Again, under the Business Accelerator program, it's a 10-week course. We've been doing now, I think, 5 years. So we've had about 156 businesses that have gone through the course, about 100 of which have completed the course. And again, for the small business grant, we've awarded up to $164,000 in grants over the 5-year period. And again, the grant funds are provided through the city, either through a general fund, or we also have what we call our CDBG, Community Development Block Grant. And so we do have grants funded through that program as well. And in the beginning of the program, we did get a matching grant from South State Bank, about 2 matching grants of $25,000 to help fund, these small business grants. And again, I've kind of gone over that before you sign the lease. Again, our next workshop will be Tuesday, October 24th at 11 o'clock. If you're interested, information is on the website. You can definitely register to attend. And we also provide a box lunch at that as well. Not that, we're trying to bribe you to come or anything, but, just letting you know. Okay, and then again, our buy local program. The other thing I want to touch upon is Open for Business. And again, during the pandemic, we were approached by a group called Blue Dot. And as a service to governments, they were providing Open for Business, which basically was to notify the public of businesses that were open. Especially during the early stages, people were confused. What's an essential business? Who's open? Who's closed? And so this is a free program that Blue Dot offers that we now allow all of our businesses to be placed on. And so if you have a business in the city and you have a business tax receipt, then you're able to have an Open for Business listing. And so in addition to just your business information, you can also put information on any promotions that you have, any jobs that you're hiring for, and information that you can connect to your website, your social media pages. And this is our Open for Business listing. And again, we try to encourage as well our departments as well as residents to use this to find local shops and restaurants in your area. Again, touched on the vendor outreach and development. Again, our subcontractor open house. The next one is coming up actually next Wednesday, the 18th. And these are held at the community center from 1 to 4. So again, it'll be a good opportunity, for people that want to do business with some of our prime contractors or city vendors or developers to come out and meet them. And again, we're going to work with the Treasure Coast Business Summit. I think they moved that event to April 2024. And so we'll try to get some of our departments to, again, participate for the vendor open house. The city was fortunate to be awarded a grant from, it was formerly the Department of Economic Opportunity, but now the name has changed to the Florida Department of Commerce. So they did get passed through funding through the HUD, through the CDBG program for COVID, to help businesses that were impacted by the pandemic. And so actually today is the opening of that grant program, which provides up to $10,000. Again, the qualifiers, however, because it's through HUD in the CDBG program, the businesses must be located in a low to moderate income census tract, or the business owner's household income would need to be certified as low to moderate in terms of the eligibility. But then in terms of the actual process of getting awarded the grant, they would need to also prove a 20% decrease in revenue as a result of the pandemic. So that program, the grant review part of it is through the Florida Small Business Development Center, and it's a joint project between the Office of Economic Development and our Neighborhood Services Department. So, again, the grant opens today and will close on the 17th, which will be next Tuesday. And again, our business tax office does offer free workshops, again, normally held here in the council chambers. So it's a great opportunity, for small business owners to get some free information, valuable information to help build your business. Our Von White Grayson is our business tax manager, who's also here if you have any questions regarding these workshops. But again, this is all available on the city's website. And with that, I'll leave it up for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Elijah while we have him here? Or as he mentioned, we do have Yvonne as well to answer any questions on the workshops as well. So, yes, sir. I see a hand raised right here in the back. Give me just 1 second to make my way over there. There you go.
In the past 5 years, kind of skipped the COVID period, I've seen a lot of small businesses open up. How many of those are successful? And is it difficult to start a small business?
Good question. And the city does license commercial locations, which for most people would be visible as you're driving on our major roads. But we also do license home-based businesses. Success, it's kind of hard to qualify because technically you could go to Sunbiz, get incorporated, and be in business. And if you have a business that's not very active, but just technically a business, you could, be around for years, but you may not be profitable, and then you have businesses that actually are making money and are growing. I think in this area in general, I think it's very supportive of small business. It's a very pro-business environment. We have a lot of good resources that will help businesses. But in terms of an accurate number, it would be difficult to quantify, the success rate outside of business openings and business closings. And I don't know, Yvonne, if you had anything to add to that. Yeah, but in terms of, the things people have to consider when they're opening a business, first of all, you have to understand the market that you're going into. Is there a demand for the product and service? 2, is there a lot of competition? Sometimes people want to open a business, but it's just a desire, a personal desire. But if you're going into a place where there are 5 ice cream parlors and you want to be the 6th, well, guess what? People aren't going to buy so much ice cream. And so you may have a great product, but you may be going into a market that's very competitive. One of the tools that the chamber offers is what they call Size Up. and that's a free service. So if you go to the Chamber's website under their Business Assistance Program, on that landing page, there's a logo for Size Up, and you click on that, and you can actually get reports. So you'll type in the type of business that you have. Let's say, for example, barbershops in Port St. Lucie, and it'll actually populate the barbershops that are in the city. So if you're looking at a specific location, you'll know, okay, well, there's so many barbershops in this area. I mean, we need to go over in this area. And then you can also look at the demographics, of an area. It's a very useful tool. It's free to the public. But, again, that, would be the first stop, talking to the Chamber of Commerce. But then we also have the Florida Small Business Development Center, and they're under the SBA, Small Business Administration, but the programs are offered through the college and university system, so that's why they're at Indian River State College. But, again, their services oftentimes are free in terms of the training they provide. They also have consultants that specialize. So if you are looking at someone to help you with your marketing plan or social media, there's someone for that. If you have a business that's interested in doing business abroad, they actually have a person that does international trade that's available. If you are more established, but you really want to fine-tune the books of the business in terms of your record keeping and looking at your profitability. Also have people that are, financial experts there. So it's a great, free resource. It's there at the college. And if you're an aspiring, small business owner or an existing small business owner, you definitely want you to take advantage of it. I hope I answered your question. I did talk a lot, so I make sure I got the point.
Shaking his head, yes. So I think you definitely did. Thanks, Elijah, for that. We actually do have another question for you all the way in the back of the room as well. I'll go ahead and pass it along to you.
Elijah,
Yes.
thank you for taking the time
You're welcome.
to speak with us today. So I just had a quick question. Does the city have any programs if somebody wanted to set up a technology, like an incubator opportunity zone, tax benefits or any other kind of incentives for somebody to bring that sort of a resource in through either a private equity firm or a hedge fund or something like that, like a technology hedge fund?
So when it comes to incentives, what normally happens there are what we call qualified targeted industries. These are industries that the state is looking to recruit to Florida. Technology would be one of which. We would need to understand, the size and scale, of the business. If it's a small startup, there may not be incentives yet because they haven't reached that threshold of 10 or more jobs paying above the average wage or making a certain amount in capital investment. What we do, however, for companies that are eligible for incentives, because, one thing, let me take a step back. As a government, we're subject to the sunshine laws. So anything that comes through the city, any written communications that come through the city are open to the public. And so oftentimes when a company is looking at a location, we work closely with the Economic Development Council because they're private. So they can shield the company, put it under a project name, and then once they're at a point that they've selected the site, they're ready to move forward with asking the council for incentives, then it's brought forth to the council. And normally the two incentives that we offer, well, three, technically two are financial, one is a service, is an impact fee mitigation. So for eligible companies, for new construction projects, we're able to waive the impact fee. Again, they would have to create 10 or more jobs. And then we also monitor those jobs over a period of 10 years. And then the ad valorem tax exemption. And we normally do that in, it's a 10-year exemption. The historical we've done it is 5 years at 100%, and then a deceleration schedule from year 6 to 10. And again, those are through the Economic Development Council initially, and then those are brought forth to the city and county to receive incentives. You're welcome.
Thank you, Elijah. Any other questions for Elijah while we have him with us here tonight? Anybody on this side of the room? No, you guys are good? Awesome. Well, thank you, Elijah, so much for the information.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we will be sharing this information with you all in our Google Drive, the presentation for tonight. So you guys will have that if you guys want to ever refer back to some of those programs in the future. You'll have that information with you. Let me come back up here. Stand here. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and pick up with our next presentation. Thank you all for being back here for round 2 of tonight's session. So for tonight, our second half of tonight's session is dedicated to our very own building department. And just to talk a little bit about the building department, the vision of our building department is to be the premier building department in the state of Florida, built on a foundation of modeling the best practices of timeliness, accuracy, and customer service in all functions, while developing positive relationships with our customers, elected leaders, and stakeholders, and become a positive global influence in the field of building code regulation and government activities, helping Port St. Lucie lead the world. So here tonight to present on behalf of our very own building department, and also to introduce his team, we have Mr. Joel Dramis joining us tonight, who is the building code administrator for the city of Port St. Lucie. Welcome, Joel, et al.
Thank you, Boulevard, and welcome to City University. My name is Joel Dramis. I'm the Building Code Administrator, or as some of you may know, building official is a more common term for what I do. What it says, basically, I'm in charge of all building codes and building construction, in charge of the regulation of building codes and building construction here in the city of Port St. Lucie. I have an awesome team going to be here tonight to share in presentations, ask them to introduce themselves when they come up to speak. Also want to shout out to my deputy in charge of administration, Tracy Velour. She baked those desserts that y'all enjoyed out there in the back. So yeah, you know, that's the typical response we get from Tracy. She's our official baker, our official cook, our official caterer. She really does an awesome job. Those are homemade. They are not store-bought. And we hope you enjoy them. And take the leftovers with you when you leave. I'm glad you enjoyed them. Okay, so as building code administrator, as I said, I'm in charge of the building codes of the city. My assistant, Michael Peter, and Tracy Velour could not be here tonight, but I have Edward Groenholt, who is my chief plans examiner. He is not going to be presenting, but he is down here in the front to answer questions when presentation is over. I have Vincent Montalto, who's a deputy building official in charge of inspections. He also will not be presenting tonight, but he is here to answer questions. I have Beth Barnes, who is our permit manager. She is here and will be presenting. And Rick Bartholomew, who's deputy building official in charge of inspections. So it's a lot of titles, a lot of people, but we are a growing department. As the city grows, we grow. You know, we're like a byproduct of the growth in Port St. Lucie. We operate out of Building B, which is kind of like right behind us over here. And that Building B is owned by the building department, and we rent space to other departments in the city. That's kind of how we get some of our revenue. Okay, so what is our mission statement? What is our goal in the department? And basically, we are here to safeguard the public health, safety, and general welfare of the built environment. We're not here to regulate things like colors of buildings, styles of buildings. We're here for public safety. We do that by providing highly trained professionals for permitting, plan review, and inspections, contractor licensing, and all our administrative functions. I hire only the best, and I retain only the best. All right. You may come to work for me. If you don't last 270 days, that means you didn't meet the best requirement, so you need to go to the county, right? We only want to hire and keep the best. We provide support, training, and education to the business community. This is obviously one of our education events. I did a fireside chat this afternoon, and we're always going somewhere and teaching either to elected officials, to other cities throughout the state of Florida and throughout the country. We do damage and disaster assessments. Thankfully, we haven't had to do any of those for a while, and hopefully we won't have to do any in the future. But realize what happens if an event, and those big windstorms, we won't say the H word, but a big event comes through the city. Our job is to get out there as soon as the wind speed gets below 38 miles an hour, and we have to assess every single structure in the city. And one of the reasons why we have to get out there first and do it is because if we estimate the value of the damage to be at a certain threshold, that initiates FEMA to start the process of spending the money or sending the money. I say it starts the process. Our goal is to get those reports to them, get those reports to the county. They could apply to the federal government for disaster assistance. And also, when your insurance company shows up, they're gonna wanna know what the building department assessment was for your property. So right now, if an event was to hit Port St. Lucie, and we hope it doesn't, we would have to assess about 63,000 structures. And that's a day and night, day and night, day and night operation until it gets done and a report gets completed. We also conduct monthly, sorry, was there a question, comment? Oh, okay.
Oh, I was just asking, do they use drones to help assess that?
We do not. And one of the reasons that we do not is because you have to be a licensed pilot to use the drone. So what we may do and we can do is we have several police officers that are licensed drone operators, pilots. We would use them to help us assess mostly rooftops is what we're looking at, and major damage to structures. We conduct monthly stakeholder meetings and newsletters, and we apply best practices. We don't just do a job that we do, we have to do the best job possible. We were originally formed in 1965. At that time, we had only one employee, and believe it or not, that employee just retired this year after 50 years of service as a building inspector in the city. So at that time, we issued permits for like mostly houses, a couple big houses, a whole lot of little tiny houses, not tiny houses, but small houses, a few commercial projects. We had only one typewriter in the office, we had one telephone, we had a lot of ashtrays, and we had no computers. That was how life was, obviously, back in 1965. Today, our department consists of 89 employees in 4 divisions, and we do a lot more than just issue permits for houses and commercial projects. And as you can guess, we now have many computers, lots of telephones, mostly cell phones, no typewriters, and of course, we don't have any ashtrays. So, we've seen a transition, we've seen a change. I'm sorry. Okay, we've seen a big change over the years in what we do as a department. Also, the functions that we perform are a lot different as well. One thing you might find interesting is that the building department is an internal service fund. What that means is we do not get any of your tax money. Quite honestly, we don't need it because we make our money off building permits. And the law in the state of Florida is that any money that comes in for building permits has to stay in the building department. Can't build a bridge, can't build a road, can't pave a road, and no, I can't put another lane on Crosstown, right? That money stays in the building department. If I have a budget shortfall, I may have to raise fees. If I have a budget surplus, I may have to give money back and have to adjust my staffing accordingly because the state says I can't carry like tens of millions of dollars year after year after year, but I do need to be prepared for those days, those rainy days where I may have work but no funds. So as an internal service fund, we do not get your tax money. Now, I do pay the city finance department to write our checks. Actually, they don't write checks, they do a direct deposit. Right? I do pay the city attorney's office to do attorney work for us, and I do pay different departments to do different functions, but by and large, all the money that comes into the building department stays in the building department for the enforcement of the Florida Building Code. That is not a city requirement, that is a law of the state of Florida. Okay? So since 2008, February of 2008, that's the magic day because that's the day I took over the department. Actually, I've been with the city for almost 35 years. And for the last 16 years, I've been at the helm of the building department. And during that time, since 2008, remember we had this like recession thing coming on and this gradual rebuild and all these challenges. But during that time, we reduced staffing and spending because we were taking in less money. We've lowered fees 7 times. So in other places, everybody's going raising fees and raising fees. We've lowered fees 7 times. We've added online permitting. So those days, like back in 1965, when a contractor wanted to pull a permit, he brought in his paperwork, he brought in his kids, he brought in a big check, and he got a permit. Today, that's all done online. Contractor can pull a permit from the privacy of his own home or from his office. We have been ranked a top 25 building department internationally. So we became state certified as a continuing education provider for building officials, inspectors, and plans examiners. So we are state certified to provide continuing education training. We also became state certified for real estate professionals. So we get to teach real estate professionals. And we became accredited as a building department by the International Accreditation Service, which kind of sets this high standard for us to be one of the top 25 building departments internationally. So some of the cost-reducing activities that we've done is we've had advanced technology systems. We're going to talk a little bit more about that a little later. We've introduced efficiency practices. We've increased staff training. I have the highly trained building team in the state of Florida. We've eliminated paper. I used to love paper. You know, it feels nice. You know, you can draw on it. You can do all kinds of things with it. We just kind of grew up with paper. We pretty much eliminated paper. I mean, outside of a Post-it note, that's kind of like the limit of the paper that we have in our department. We introduced stakeholder meetings. We have numerous public outreach programs. We've introduced customer service surveys that we will talk about a little bit later. We conduct annual reviews and online permitting and reporting. So you can imagine, like back in the day, I say back in the day as in like maybe 5 years ago, if Publix wanted to build a Publix, because you know Publix likes to build Publixes, right? You get this roll of plans that's this big, and they bring in like 4 or 5 in the department, weighing about 52 pounds. And we would carry that from desk to desk to review it. Now, one set gets submitted electronically. We can send it to 7 or 8 people to review it at the same time. No heavy paper to lift. They can make notations and comments on this digital plan and send it back to the architect. And the architect can be in California. He can be in Indiana. I don't know if they have architects in Indiana. Be in Indiana. He could be in New York. He could be anywhere. And maybe by the time that inspector or that plan reviewer comes back from lunch, there could be comments on that plan already made and resubmitted for review. Where that process in paper used to take weeks or sometimes even months. Okay? So we do have 4 divisions in the building department. We have permitting division, a plan review division, an inspections division, and an administration division. We're trying not to get too many divisions. We rather create layers and career opportunities in each division rather than have too much bureaucracy. Okay? We are governed by a series of Florida laws. Now, we also do have city ordinances, but there's a list of some of the laws in the state of Florida. The laws aren't getting less. Laws are kind of like a baby, you know, you feed them and they just grow and get bigger and bigger and bigger. If you're not careful, they kind of take over. That's when you kick them out of the house. But we found that in most of what we do, the Florida legislature controls the laws and regulations. So if you see us kind of going out there doing something as a building department or making a decision, you say, boy, that's kind of crazy, that's kind of dumb, why are they doing that? Well, we do it because we don't have a choice. The Florida statutes require it. The most important statute that we deal with is Florida Statute 553, which is the Florida Building Code. Okay. So the Florida Building Code is the law of the land. We have 272 countries on an international set of codes and 49 states. The state of Florida decided we're kind of better than everybody else. We want our own code. So Florida has its own building code. And a lot of that came out of Hurricane Andrew. A lot of these new laws and regulations came out of Hurricane Andrew. After Hurricane Andrew hit, Governor Childs at the time appointed a study committee to try to find out why so many structures failed in the state of Florida. One of the things they found is there were 5 codes. And kind of like nobody knew what code to follow. Okay. There were loose laws and requirements on building inspections and building construction. And there was a whole lot of conflicting information in the codes and in the building construction industry. So one of the things the Florida legislature did was created the Florida Building Code, made it the law of the land, so to speak. They created regulations and laws for people with my title, for my plan reviewers and my inspectors. And they basically handed out some procedures and some requirements for building construction that violations of some of these laws can result in jail time or fines or loss of licensure. So it's gotten pretty intense. I will tell you, when we're talking subject of the Florida Building Code, that the Florida Building Code works. From an expert standpoint, I can tell you that the code works. Some of you may remember several years ago, Hurricane Michael, one of the most powerful storms to hit Florida since Andrew. They said it was a Cat 5. They even wanted to classify it at times as a Cat 6, which there was no Cat 6. But the winds were so excessive. 100% of all the homes built to the Florida Building Code withstood hurricane force winds. Unfortunately, some of the older homes that were not built to the Florida Building Code did not survive. But storm after storm, from Nicole to Ian to all the storms we've experienced since the introduction of the Florida Building Code, the homes that are built according to code withstood hurricane force winds. Doesn't mean they didn't get some damage, but by and large, those homes survived. So, this Florida Building Code, it kind of has an intent. It has a set of guidelines, if you will, that says what this code is intended to do. And I know it gets a little wordy, but we just kind of take it a little slow. We'll understand what the code is all about. The purpose and intent of this act or code is to provide a mechanism for uniform adoption, updating, amendment, interpretation, and enforcement of a single state building code. So that's the crux of it, and we call that the Florida Building Code. So no longer do we have multiple codes throughout the state of Florida that people can pick whatever they want. This is the law. It consists of a single set of documents that apply to the design, construction, erection, alteration, modification, repair, or demolition of public or private buildings, structures, or facilities in this state, and to the enforcement of such requirements as which will allow effective and reasonable protection for public safety, health, and general welfare of the people of the state of Florida at the most reasonable cost to the consumer. That's a lot of words, but when you break it down, it really kind of makes sense. We want a single set of codes for anything having to do with construction or demolition in the state of Florida, and it applies to public and private buildings and structures, and they're looking for reasonable protection of public health, safety, and general welfare at a reasonable cost to the consumer. So my team has to follow the Florida Building Code. Now, let me go up there and say, it really would be a good idea if you put 6 more trusses on this house. Well, we can't say that. We can't do that. We cannot make our own changes to the code. If we want to make a change to the code, we apply to the state. Well, good luck with that. So we might as well stay with that single set of documents, right? This way the contractor knows what to follow, the designer knows what to follow, my team knows what to follow, and it just makes life easier all around. And that was the big issue with Hurricane Andrew. Everybody had different sets of rules prior to the Florida Building Code. Okay. So here's a list of the different codes. We will not get into that, but all these codes, these 47,000 pages of codes, we're going to throw those all out December 31st because we're going to be on the new code. The new code consists of 2,000 pages of changes. I didn't write it. Legislature wrote it. Okay? So these are the codes that we must follow by state law, and they will all change to the 8th edition of the Florida Building Code, December 31st of this year. As I said, it's 47,000 pages. It is written by the Florida legislature. Okay, so you have all these legislators, and they're getting influence from their constituents. Say, why don't we add this? Why don't we add that? Why don't we add this? My job as a building code administrator now is to work with the legislature and say, that's a dumb rule. We don't like that rule. Let's change it. Let's change the language. Let's make these modifications. So that's the new role of the building department. Okay? So the purpose of the code is to establish minimum requirements. Keep this in mind, minimum requirements to safeguard the public health, safety, and general welfare. We saw that in the intent of the code, minimum requirements. And we're looking to do that through structural strength, means of egress, stability, sanitation, adequate light and ventilation, energy conservation. That's a new one now, because years ago we didn't worry about energy conservation in Florida, even though we had all this 100-degree days, right? Safety to life and property from fire and other hazards arising in the built environment, and also to provide safety to firefighters and emergency responders during emergency operations. So let's think back a little bit. How many people maybe live in a house that is maybe built in the 70s? Anybody? Wow, okay. Anybody see a house that was built? So if you notice, like around the Prima Vista area, River Park area, if you notice some of these houses, they got like windows that are like really high. You ever see that? You're like, well, that's pretty cool, because that's what we did in the 60s. We put windows high. I guess, I don't know, they just like high windows, right? It was a style. It was a mid-century, modern kind of thing, right? But now what happens if someone's in that house and the house catches fire? If they can't get out the bedroom door, they're not getting out, right? I mean, unless you're like really good at climbing 5 feet high and shimmying through this skinny little window. So one of the things the Florida Building Code says, you know what? We need to have bigger windows. And not only for that person to get out, right? Because you notice the bigger house, the newer houses have bigger windows, and they're lower to the ground, right? So you can climb out of those windows real easy. Can't climb out of those big high windows. And also, if a firefighter wants to get in with an oxygen pack on his back, he can't climb in that higher window either. He can certainly climb in the lower window. So this is kind of an example of how the Florida Building Code has actually changed for the better. And some people will say, I don't like that window. It's too close to the ground. The rabbits will get in. Well, let's not worry about rabbits, okay? Close the window. Let's worry about emergency, and you never think of emergencies or disasters, but they do happen. So that's just one example of how these changes take place in the code. And there's different changes with door requirements and roof trusses and roof attachments and things like that that will help a home to survive intact, uncompromised, which is really what we want. We may lose a couple shingles, we may lose a light fixture on the outside of the house. We can live with that. We can't live with, losing a whole structure. Okay. So just a summary of the Florida Building Code. It is a minimum standard. It's there to protect health, safety, and general welfare, for energy conservation, safety to life and property, safety to firefighters and emergency responders. It does not address those kind of things that we call problematic, which are trees, landscaping, building color. Not that they're not important, but the building code does not address those. You can't say, well, we don't like your trees, so we're not going to pass your house. No. The building code does not address them. Now, local ordinances, we have some requirements in the city that you have to have 4 trees and all that stuff, and that's good. But we don't regulate bushes, sidewalks, grass, drainage to a degree, because we have to have water to shed away from a structure, not into a structure, and public art. So I don't know what public art is, because I don't know what art is. But whenever I figured out the building code does not regulate public art, And the tool that we use to meet these requirements and other related statutes is the building permit. So you can't build without a permit. And Beth is a permit manager. She's going to talk to you, she's going to talk to you a bit about building permits and when you need a permit, and you're going to enjoy her presentation. So Beth?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Joel. Always a tough act to follow. So when do you need to get a permit? So the Florida statute states that any owner or authorized agent who intends to construct, enlarge, alter, repair, move, demolish, or change the occupancy of a building or structure, or to erect, install, enlarge, repair, remove, convert, or replace any impact-resistant coverings, electrical, gas, mechanical, or plumbing system, the installation of which is regulated by this code, or cause any such work to be done, shall first make application to the building official and obtain the required permit. So anytime you're looking to make any improvement on your property that falls with any of those guidelines, the first stop you're going to make is to the permitting department, and we'll be able to assist you. I'm not sure how to do this. Was it this one? Oh, I have it. Okay, thank you. Okay, so some pictures here, just to see if whether or not you guys can figure out whether or not you need a permit. So if you're installing new windows, do you think you need a permit? Yes. What about new roof? I'm sure everyone knows that one. Yeah. I think this is just a doorknob, but if it's just a doorknob, do you need a permit? No. What if it's an interior door? No. Exterior door? Yes. Yep. Exterior door. Garage door? Yep. A washing line? No. Flooring? No. What about an above-ground pool? Yes. What about an air conditioner? And a doghouse? Yeah. A permit for the dog, yeah, maybe. And if it's a huge doghouse, like the ones you kind of see on social media sometimes with bedrooms and air conditioners and stuff like that, then maybe, yes, for sure, you're going to need a permit for that. So we have our own software that we use. It's called Panda, and Panda was launched on November 3rd in 2013, and the cost was $0. It's been upgraded over 600 times at $0, and upgrades and improvements are often done in minutes, not days and weeks as with canned programs. Contractors can now apply for, pay, and print out over 67% of permits. It's actually more than that now. It's over 80%. There's over 164,073 online permits applied for since February 2016. The Panda system is owned by the City of Port St. Lucie, and it has more features than programs that other building departments use that can cost upwards of $2.5 million. It's the most effective tool for providing the highest level of customer service. So we're constantly making improvements to Panda, constantly putting requests in for changes to be made so that we can, so it helps us in our daily roles and make sure that we can get our job done with its help, lots of help. Permit division. The permit division is responsible for the initial processing of all permits. We process around 6,000 building permits per month. We do the issuance of certificates of occupancy. We collect impact fees and permit fees. We also collect the impact fees for the county. We're just the collector, but we do collect them for the county as well as the city. We're in the process of digitizing all documents on file. We're getting pretty close to meeting that goal. 3,457 public records requests for documents, plans, and surveys were conducted in 2022. And the total number of records requests in 2023 to date is 2,549. And some of these can be really in-depth, where they want every single document for a certain area of the city that pertains to building. Some are just, you want a survey, but others can be thousands and thousands of pages. These are the permits that were applied for since 2008 by year. As you can see right now, this year, we're about 38,916 to date. Last year was a busy year, and 21 obviously was the busiest there with 69,228 permits. And then this is just a little comparison between us, St. Lucie County, and the city of Fort Pierce. So I'll just do 2023 here, but to date, we've done 40,985 or thereabout. St. Lucie County is at just over 11,000 permits, and city of Fort Pierce is just over 4,000. We do have an amazing staff. A lot of our staff has been with us quite a while. They work really hard. Very proud of them. We have online services through our website. I'm sure some of you are familiar with our website and visited there. There's a lot of tools from all different departments on there, but we have our online services, and there you can conduct a permit search. You can see all the permit applications that are available, along with checklists as well. Per Florida statute 489-1037B, all homeowner builder permits must be applied for in person. There is a correction to that now. So if you are a homeowner and you're looking to obtain your own permit, not use a contractor, and you're going to be doing the work yourself, we still offer owner builder permits, but you do not have to physically come into the building department. You do have to get all of your documents notarized, but they can be emailed to us. So if anybody's ever interested in becoming their own contractor on their property, then that would, you can still come in if you'd like, because we will notarize everything for you at no charge. But if you'd rather not come in and email everything to us, you can. And I have a business card, and I'll give that to you, and you can always email it to me. But essentially, you would be acting as your own contractor. So I'm not going to read this because it's a little outdated, and I didn't catch it, so I apologize. This is an example of our application, or one of our applications. This one's for an AC permit. And then the building permit. The building permit is what you would receive and be put on site for the work that's taking place, and then the inspectors would sign off on each inspection. Oh, that was fast. Rick. Okay, thank you, everybody. I think I'm actually back up again in a few minutes, but thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Rick Bartholomew, and I'm one of the 2 deputy building officials over inspections. And bear with me, I left my glasses on my desk, so I'm gonna have to read off of there. So for Plan Review Division, they review all the plans for compliance with the Florida Building Code and other applicable codes. They review the assigned design parameters to ensure it meets or exceeds what is required for our region. The state of Florida has different wind zones, so they check to make sure that it meets the requirements for our wind zone. Like Orlando has a lower wind zone than what we do, for example. They review for compliance with city ordinance to a degree. They review surveys, certificates, and other documents. They calculate impact and permit fees. The total number of plans reviewed in 22 was a little bit over 24,000, and so far year to date in 23, a little bit over 16,000. So these are just some pictures of some things we've come across, some in the recent past, some a while ago, but this just shows reasons for the codes. You can see here the stairs are coming loose, so you wonder about squeaky stairs. This could be what's underneath there. Here we have a breaker, probably a sub panel underneath a kitchen sink. So you have all that electric and wiring underneath your water This was a washer area. And then also you can see where somewhere they missed it in the design on that bathroom. This was a grow house. So it's another reason why we have code enforcement and other departments out there. You can see they actually had fans on it to help keep the breaker in the middle there. There's a breaker panel without a cover on it, and it was getting so hot they put a fan on it. So in this inspections division, we inspect all permitted work for compliance with the Florida Building Code. One of the things that I get asked a lot is, wouldn't it be better if? It's not necessarily a matter of whether it would be better if. What matters is, does it meet the code? And is it per plan? Because people come from all different regions and they're used to that style of construction. And it might be better if, but it needs to be per plan and meet code. Like contractors, inspectors are licensed in their trades. Electrical inspectors inspect electric. Mechanical inspectors inspect AC, and et cetera. Some permits require one inspection, while large projects require 300 to 400 inspections. Like a water heater permit is one inspection, but we have the Amazon building out there. We had a guy there on site all day long, even 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, he was out there doing inspections. And I think we went around 500 inspections altogether on that building. Inspectors can't inspect what they can't see. Work cannot be covered up. So rule of thumb, anything that's going to get covered gets inspected before it gets covered. Total number of inspections for 21 was 208,400, and in 22 was 108, a little bit over 189,000. This year, I don't know the numbers on year to date, but I do know that we're averaging between 700 and 900 inspections a day. And we have 33 inspectors full-time out there. So this is just some more pictures. This is why we don't use the plastic on the dryer ducts anymore. In fact, now, other than the little piece connecting to the wall, it has to be smooth wall, that you can't even use the corrugated in the wall anymore. And then that other menagerie there, that was under a kitchen sink. Guess that's another use for duct tape. The quick tile repair. The picture on the right, you can see where they have 2 wires coming into a wire nut and then 1 wire feeding off of the breaker into the other 2 wires. So basically you have 1 small wire feeding electric to 2 larger wires. So that's why it got hot and melted. So they added a hose bib to the water heater. You can see the switch for the garbage disposal. Put your fingers on the side of that, it'll light you up. So some tips for hiring a contractor. You should, and we're all contractors, some of us here as well, that work for the city. We don't do work in the city though. But anyways, you should not be asked to apply for your own permit. Licensed contractors typically pull their own permits. Do not pay cash or write a check to an individual, so you're not going to make it out to Jane Doe. You would make it out to AAA construction or whatever. Do not hire someone working on the side, and do not make final payment until the permit is closed out. We get that a lot on roofing permits, where they've made final payment and then they have a hard time failing or passing the roof final. And the homeowners are calling, what can they do? And I said, well, if you made final payment, hold the final check. And their comment is, well, we already paid them. So we just do the inspection. We can't force them to fix it. Back to Joel.
Thank you, Rick. As you can see, any given day, about 6 o'clock in the morning, when the inspector turns on the computer, finds out they have 600, 700, 800 inspections that day. Those inspections get completed by the end of that day. It doesn't mean that they rush through. It means that they have to work overtime. They may have to work through lunch. We may have to take some people that are working in plan review that have inspector licenses and put them in the field as well, because we have a commitment to our stakeholders that we will complete that inspection within 24 hours of their request. Right? So that's the other divisions. The division that I lead is the administration division, and we provide administrative and support services to all divisions. We're responsible for the clerical functions, including compiling monthly annual reports for other city departments or the public. We process refunds, even though I don't like refunds. We do payroll, purchasing, and certifications. We track complaints and compliments. We get about 1 complaint every 3 months and 1 compliment every 2 days. Those are written compliments from our stakeholders. My division coordinates training and education for employees and the public. We monitor daily activity. We're a liaison between other departments. We monitor the public records requests. As Beth said, we do thousands of public records requests a year. Thousands. So the law in the state of Florida is if there is a record or a document that comes into the building department, that's a public record. It's classified as a public record. If somebody wants it, they have the right to it. All right? So we call that, I don't call that public records, I call that the public's records. So if you come into the building department and you see someone in administration division say, I'd like to have a copy of the survey for my house, we are obligated to give that to you. Also, the statute says we should charge like 15 cents or something like that, but we discovered it cost me more than 15 cents to take in your 15 cents, and most people don't have 15 cents in their pocket anymore. So rather than like put it on their credit card or write a check, because nobody writes a check anymore, we just give it to you. Okay? So those are public records requests. They are the records of the public, and you're entitled to those because they're not our records. We're just kind of like the keeper, the holder of them for you. And we also facilitate the accreditation process. Okay, so something else near and dear to our hearts that has been in the news lately is property insurance. Why in the world is the building department talking about property insurance? What I thought 30 years ago. But there's an interesting catch to this, okay? Every 3 years, the Insurance Services Office, or ISO, conducts a analysis of every building department in the United States. What a task, all right? But it's not just a survey or an analysis. It's an in-depth 38-page report that has to be completed. They want to look at the qualifications of all of my staff, the certifications of my staff, their time on the job. They want to look at how many inspections they do a day. They want to look at the geographical requirements of the city of Port St. Lucie. They look at my credentials, my assistant's credentials. They basically analyze and drill down into everything about the building department. Why do they do that? Well, they do that to assign what's called a building code effectiveness grading schedule. Or we just call it BSEGS because it's a big explanation. So all property owners have to carry insurance on their property, right? If you have a mortgage, you got to have insurance. And you don't have a lot of property insurance options nowadays, right? Even if you were with Citizens, they're dropping a whole bunch of policies. And the Florida legislature and the governor are just wrestling with this insurance crisis. And they really are wrestling. We believe in the next couple of years there will be some relief coming. But for now, the insurance companies have to have a way to assess your premiums for your property. I'm not standing up for them. I'm just telling them to tell you how it works, okay? And all insurance is are always based on some kind of a risk factor, right? I mean, if you drive a Corvette, you're probably going to pay more than if you drove like a little Ford pickup truck, right? It's just the way it is. Well, there are certain risk factors that apply to insurance. Some of these risk factors they take into account is the age of the home. Remember I told you the new homes built to the Florida Building Code, they withstand better than the houses built in the 70s. The condition of the home, the construction materials. We do have some homes built in Port St. Lucie, in the state of Florida, built out of wood. Insurance companies don't like wood homes, even though they're built to code. The construction materials used, the location of the homes, the building department employee credentials. It's another thing they look at. The inspector and plans examiner workload. How well my department complies with the requirements of the Florida Building Code. They look at what codes we've adopted, look at our policies and procedures, look at our code reviews. They actually look at our reviews and analysis of what we do throughout the 3 years. They look at our public outreach, look at our education programs, look at our tools and testing materials that we use. It's a whole big analysis. Now, you don't see that because this is happening before you go and apply for your insurance. But they do this analysis to assign a rating, or they call a BSEGS rating, Building Code Effectiveness Grading Schedule, for the city of Port St. Lucie. And guess what? If the schedule is bad, if you score an 8 or a 9 or a 10 out of 10, people in Port St. Lucie will be paying more for their property insurance. Conversely, if we score down into 2s and 3s, people should be paying less. I say should be because I'm not. This is the information that goes to the insurance carriers, the insurance underwriters, to go to the insurance carriers. So let's look at what happened. There are actually 14 categories for residential that they review. There's 14 categories for commercial that they review. Our last review was in 2021. It happens every 3 years, so the next one's coming up, right? City of Port St. Lucie in 2021 had the highest ranking in St. Lucie County. When I say the highest, means the most effectiveness rating in St. Lucie County of all the building departments. We had the highest rating in the state of Florida and one of the highest in the United States. So basically what the insurance underwriters are saying is homes in Port St. Lucie are a great risk. Not at a great risk. They're a great property to insure, and we're going to assign them lower rates because they met all this criteria of qualified personnel and following the codes and all this stuff that they look at has ranked us as one of the highest building departments in the country. And as a result, we get lower insurance premiums. May not believe that, but it's true, okay? And it's hard to believe, right, when your insurance keeps going up and up and up. But many times, and several people that I know have been contacted by their insurance companies, say we're giving you a $350 reduction. Now, it's when you're paying $4,000, $350 don't sound like a whole lot, but it's something, right? So again, what the insurance underwriters are saying is Port St. Lucie is a good risk for insurance because the homes are built better, the people are more qualified, and they meet all these requirements. We're hoping to get even better. We got to beat the city of San Diego because they have the record. And hopefully in 2024, we'll get to beat the city of San Diego and have the best rating in the country. So talk real quick about accreditation. I mentioned it a little bit before. Accreditation is a third-party recognition that the building department fulfills specified requirements for customer service, accuracy, and timeliness. It's a voluntary review. In fact, we pay for it. It is an assurance that the building department is competent and meets established quality standards. It sets an standard of excellence and provides a level of professional recognition. Some of the benefits of accreditation: increased efficiency, improved customer service, potential for lower insurance premiums, again, due to accreditation, we get a little bonus for that. Increased confidence in the building department. It's a positive influence on the construction market. It's improved level of professionalism, more desirable place for employment, great attractor of new business, and to be considered among the best building departments internationally. I said across the country, but it's actually internationally. There are only 4 accredited building departments in the state of Florida and 24 in the world. City of Port St. Lucie received our favorable review in February of 2016. And we had our final assessment in September of 2016. We were awarded accreditation on December 20 of 2016, and we have been reaccredited every year since. Okay? So it's a standard of excellence, and we don't just get it, we pay money to be assessed. We pay money for assessors to come into our department, rip it apart, drill down, see what my staff does, make sure best ladies are consistent in their permitting, make sure that plan review is consistent in the work they do, make sure our inspectors are following the codes and the rules. And as a result, we get to maintain that building department accreditation. One of the major components of accreditation is customer service. We like to say we are a customer service department that just happens to issue building permits. Okay. Here's our customer service rating from August of this year. Based on customer surveys, so when we complete permits, we send out 300 or 400 surveys every month to completed permits. And the last assessment that was done in August rated our inspection division as a 9.59 out of 10. Our permit division, 9.75 out of 10, and our plan review division, 9.55 out of 10. All right. And it's real. It's 100% real. We monitor and we care about customer service. If you go over to building B, if you come into the complex or you get lost, you go over to building B, you notice there's a little drive-through facility built on the front of building B. I had that built in 2016 to increase customer service. So just like the bank, right? Excuse me, you don't want to get out of the bank, out of your car with the dog or the cat or the kids, or the dog, the cats, and the kids, and bring them in the rain and come into the building department and it's 99 degrees out and everything. We have this drive-through facility where folks can come in and just drive through, just like they do at the bank. Of course, nobody goes to the bank anymore either, but we do get a considerable amount of service at the drive-through, and it's a convenience and a way to provide enhanced customer service. All right, Tracy's going to do public outreach. I guess that's me too, or is it you?
It's me, but if you'd like to, I'm happy to.
Go ahead. We'd love to have you do that.
Okay, thank you, Joel. Okay, so public outreach, training, and access. In March of 2008, the building department began developing and delivering a series of training classes for focused stakeholders. Just to go back to that one, our stakeholder meetings that we do, we just actually met with electricians, right? The electricians, last month it was the pool contractors, but it's our way to kind of speak with them, see what kind of needs they're looking for, if they need something from us, and to let them know where maybe they might need to make some improvement, or at least what their most common flaws are. So, but they're interesting meetings, and I think we learn a lot from them, as do they. We have the Realtor Estate Assist Program. There's over 1,400 real estate professionals, and here they'll learn about building permits, code compliance, and building issues. We have the Commercial Assist Program, and that's for commercial real estate training class to teach those listing and showing commercial properties about building code violations and methods for compliance. We have our permitting class, and that's a class for lenders, contractors, and brokers. We have licensed continuing education provider, or we are, I'm sorry, a licensed continuing education provider. We're licensed by the state of Florida to provide continuing education training classes for real estate professionals and building inspectors, plans examiners, and building officials. And then we have our stakeholder meetings. Building department conducts monthly stakeholder meetings with various contractors, and we do 12 of those a year. Yes?
So that would be like, you would get CE credits for that?
If you,
For a real estate?
yes. You would. And if you're a realtor, then the Realtor Assist program, I actually went to one a couple of months ago. It was actually really interesting. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah. Okay, so public access, what you can find on our website. The city website can be a little overwhelming. I know there's a lot of information on there because of all the different departments. So once you hit the building department, we've tried to make it flow as well as we can so that you can find the information that you need. But if ever you can't, obviously you can email us or call us and we'll certainly assist you. But on our website or on the city website under building, we do have our monthly newsletters. You can conduct a property search for permits, and that includes recent permits and older permits on properties too. You can look for or to see if there is any issues with the property. You can do a lien search on our website where you can put a property address in and it'll come back and let you know whether or not there's any liens through the city, not just through the building department, but through other departments too. But you can do that search right there on our website. And if you do find that there's a lien, you can find out how much money might be owed on that property via lien services. You can look at the status of a permit on there. It's always great if you're looking to maybe sell your house or looking to buy a house to make sure that there aren't any expired permits, because those will need to be addressed before you buy or sell. Our online services that we offer online permitting. You can schedule your inspections online, or the contractors can, or if you're an owner builder, you can schedule your own inspections online too. We also have links to the property appraiser website, FEMA, DBPR, Unicode, Florida statutes, all the fun ones. And that's a link to our website right there. This is an example of our monthly newsletter. And the city also has a newsletter too, and they cover all of the departments. And building always has a nice chunk in there every month as well. But we have our own and then part of the city's newsletter. Joel. All right, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Beth. So in closing out, you know, we want to kind of leave you with something like what's coming up in the future. We don't like to be stagnant and say, okay, we've done all this stuff. We're going to sit back, fold our hands, put our feet up, and we're good for a couple of years. My job is to keep my staff on their toes, and they call it driving them crazy, but I come up with future plans. So we are going to increase our digital business in 2024. We are going to increase the ability for virtual inspections. Now, this is something we hadn't touched on. We've been doing it for several years now. But let's just say maybe you're getting your contractor to replace your roof. And he rips the roof off and he says, I got to get an inspection. And you're like, well, the rain's coming. Well, the inspector is on US 1, and to get from US 1 to Gatlin Boulevard, it could take an hour, right? I mean, depending on like school days, you know, time of day. Man, what are we going to do? Well, if there is a person on that roof with a cell phone, and let's face it, if you're older than 9 years old, you got a cell phone, right? That person has a cell phone, they can contact my inspector. The inspector can direct that person with that cell phone with a tape measure so they can count the amount of fasteners and size of fasteners. They can basically do that inspection without having to travel there. So think of the advantage of that. Let's say you're getting your water heater replaced and you have no hot water, so you got to take a day off to call the plumber. Well, you got to call 5 because you got to get one to show up, right? So you're home a whole day. You meet with a plumber. He says, I'll be in tomorrow to change your water heater. You're going to take off another day. Then he gets done. You say, well, I'm all done. I'm going to pay you. Oh, well, you got to be home tomorrow for the inspection. So you're home 3 days? Well, what that plumber can do, and several of them do, is when they finish up the job on day 2, they call my inspector with their cell phone. Hopefully they can use the camera. They use the WhatsApp or FaceTime, and we can actually conduct that inspection so you don't have to take an extra day off. Unless you really want to take the extra day off, we can't help that. But we conduct these virtual inspections. They're allowed by the state of Florida. We're expanding that use to improve customer service, to expedite projects, to minimize challenges that can be faced or properties being compromised by rain or wind or other storms. And we can actually move projects along faster by doing virtual inspections. We're going to go after, try to achieve continuing education provider to teach contractors, because in the state of Florida, you have to be approved education provider to teach these professions, but you also have to get your courses approved. So every time the code changes, you have to update your courses, reapply, send them to the state, pay your money, and hopefully give you approval. We are at, as Beth said, online permitting is at 88%. We hope to improve that to 100% in 2024. We're going to expand our cross-training and internship programs, put all our homeowner builder permits online, and do best practices training for our neighbors. And our neighbors, I mean St. Lucie County, City of Fort Pierce, Martin County, and City of Stewart. We already do training for 61 building departments in the state of Florida. Unfortunately, none of those are our neighbors. So we hope to be training our neighbors in 2024. So finally, in our review or takeaways, the building department consists of 89 employees in 4 divisions. We issue about 5,500 permits a month. The purpose of the building code is to set a minimum standard to protect the health, safety, and general welfare. Your neighbor wants to paint their house orange with blue trim, can't help that. It's not in the code. The Florida Building Code is a state law. Anyone working in the construction industry must be a licensed contractor or an employee of a licensed contractor, or you can work for Habitat for Humanity and be a volunteer. That's the other way you could work. The building department conducts a wide variety of free training programs, classes, and seminars, and access to all our information is available on our website. And unlike most places, we do monitor our website. I was actually on my website yesterday, and I found 3 pieces of information that were outdated in 2022. So the reason why Tracy's not here is Tracy's fixing those probably right now. Okay. So with that, I'd like to open up to questions, comments, concerns. We could be here all night. I'm fine. I'm on salary.
Great job, Joel, and to your team. Excellent presentation for all of you guys. You guys did great. So yeah, at this time, let's go ahead and take some questions for our entire building department staff that's here tonight. They reviewed a lot of information in a lot of different divisions for the department. So let's go ahead and dive into that. If anyone has any questions at this point, just raise your hands and I'll come to you.
If a builder submits plans to the city and he deviates from the original plan he sent you, is that kind of like not a good thing?
Yeah, it's kind of not a good thing. Our response, and again, I think it's just from a habit of being in this industry so long. It depends. Let me tell you what I mean. I say it depends. Right? If the contractor wants to maybe make the kitchen a little bigger and the bedroom a little smaller, we don't consider that being a major deviation. He wants to start changing windows and roof lines and.
If he builds a clubhouse.
A clubhouse.
Right.
Okay.
Gives you the plans for the clubhouse, and he puts, I guess, the access to the roof. He shows the access, but then there is no roof access when you go to inspect it. What happens? Because you said if you don't see it, you can't inspect it.
All right, so he's supposed to put the roof access in, but he doesn't.
You know.
Go by the
so
attic
whatever-
access,
Yeah.
right?
A few hatches to get in a clubhouse roof.
Yeah, we would, if there's equipment up there, we need to be able to have access to get that equipment, yes. And he just said, well, I forgot it, I'll put it in later.
Or trusses aren't done right.
Oh, trusses aren't done right, trust me, that's a biggie.
Just want to know.
That's a biggie. Am I gonna get a call tomorrow about a clubhouse? Oh, okay. That's fine, that's fine. But remember now, once a contractor submits a plan, he has the right to submit a revision to that plan, okay? And we don't know where that comes from, but if it's a sealed revision to something structural, we can approve it and it becomes part of the plan set. Oh, that villain. They're right here on the front row.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and turn over to another question here, here next to me.
Yeah, one of the suggestions you gave was that if you are going to get a contractor and the contractor tells you to get the permit yourself, that's a, no, you're another one.
Yeah, we call that a red flag.
I remember that I got quotes to get the fence. You know, I came from Dominican Republic. I'm not used to live without fences. I got used because it was too expensive, but it's okay. But 2 or 3 of the guys that went to my house, they, oh yeah, you get the permit. Why? I'm looking for someone that I can pay, and that's it. And I will see the fence. That's it. I have no time to go anywhere because I don't know where to go. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. I just want to pay and get the fence. Oh no, I can't do it. Or I can't work in Port St. Lucie. I'm just working for Pearson. Why the hell are you coming here? So,
Well, that's a very good point because we do have folks that come from other areas, not just places like Dominican Republic, but they come from other states. In other states, it's like, well, I don't need a permit. I don't need this. Oh, the guy was a nice guy. Well, nice guys pull permits. Not nice guys ask the homeowner to do it. Here's what happens. If you pull the permit, you assume responsibility. So when that person pulls that permit, let's say for a fence, he signs an acknowledgement that says, I will take full responsibility for that permit being in the right place. If you do it as a homeowner builder, which you can do, you're assuming that responsibility. Why assume it if you don't have to or don't want to? So as was stated, someone asks you to pay them cash only, that's a red flag. Pull the permit, that's a red flag. Okay, pay me directly, don't pay my company. That's, there's all these red flags that we've experienced over the years. I'm not saying these folks are crooks. I'm saying that's a red flag you should stay away from. Good question.
Great point for sure. Thank you for the explanation on that. I do see a hand raised in the back. I'm coming anyway, sorry.
Have you seen a lot of where people are, contractors are pulling permits, but it's not really the contractor? The permits are being pulled, but it's not really the contractor who's doing the work. They might be in Miami, and that contractor's pulling a permit here in Port St. Lucie for a job here in Port St. Lucie that you've never seen, or you don't know the contractor, and neither does anyone else. So essentially, the handyman is doing the job under the
Yeah.
contractor's license.
It is rampant throughout the state of Florida that some people will know a contractor and say, hey, I'm going to do a roof. Would you pull the permit for me? We have no way to tell that. What we do say is it is required that the homeowner sign the building permit application along with the contractor. So when you go sign that application, you see a name on there that you don't recognize, it should raise a red flag to you. And I know it's challenging. Been in Port St. Lucie for over 40 years. We had like 4 roofing contractors in Port St. Lucie in the 70s. Now I think we have 1,000 because every time I go down the street, there's a new roofer. I don't know who they are. And I can't know who they all are because they're all state licensed. So that would be a red flag. We don't always know. That's the problem. and most of those get carried on, they get conducted, and they get inspected and closed out, and everything is fine. But we always tell people, deal with one of those more reputable companies, check them out. You can also call the city and say, hey, I'm going to deal with ABC Roofing. You guys got any complaints on them? And Beth may tell you they have 25 permits they haven't closed out since 2021. So you could always contact the building department. We can't recommend, but we can tell you the status of the history of that contractor. We can tell you he pulled 600 permits and he closed them all out. Rather than say, well, he only pulled one permit and that was in 2014. That would kind of tell me, who is this guy? Where'd he come from? Did he just like resurrect or what? So you kind of question it, right? So you can call the building department. We can give you that information.
Great. I see a hand raised here in the back as well. There you go, sir.
Is there a distinction between a plastic shed in your backyard versus a wooden shed?
Absolutely.
Is there a permit for both needed?
No. Okay. So the question is, a wood shed, let's say wood or metal.
Wood or metal.
Those are considered kind of more permanent. I changed the law about 20 years ago to say those plastic Rubbermaid sheds, they don't require permits. We call those temporary cabinets, so no permits required. I had one in my house, and when Francis came, it blew it apart, and my neighbors all came over and brought me pieces of my shed, and we got together, we snapped it back together, and it was there ever since. So yeah, those little plastic Rubbermaid things, they're great sheds. They hold up really well. They don't do good in hurricanes, but if you get your neighbors to bring the pieces, you put it back together, it's fine. No permits are required for those. They're considered temporary. Yes, sir.
Good question. Yeah, I didn't realize there was a difference. I guess I'm showing my age here on those. I guess. Yes, sir.
You were warning us that when work is done in our own home, we should be careful of contractors. Where can we get information about the quality of workmanship by the developers? Because I hear stories that one developer builds too fast, he makes mistakes. Another one has defects that show up after the warranty period, and the insurance company says, warranty is no longer covered under poor workmanship. How does one protect ourselves buying a home by a developer?
That's a tough one. And we have some very, very good developers here in the city. A lot of them in the tradition area, a lot of scattered lot builders that do some very, very good work. We used to tell people to do your homework. Sometimes go into the neighborhood, like let's just say, I'll pick one of our better contractors, GL Homes. If I was going to build with them, I would drive through that community and see people outside and say, how do you like your house? You got any issues? And if they tell me well, there's a little run in my carpet and, my coffee takes too long to make, I'm going to discount that, right? But a company like GL Homes, I'll just use them for an example, they probably built several thousand homes. We have yet to have one complaint from GL Homes. I'm not telling everybody to go run out to GL Homes. I say, but do your homework. Find out where these homes are being built and talk to the homeowner. Tell me about your house. And some of those developers that we have out in the tradition area have very good reputations. They're national builders or statewide builders, and they're fairly reputable. I say fairly reputable because I don't deal with them intimately like some homeowners do. And I would say if you're dealing with a developer or a contractor, and we didn't talk about this, but if you're in the negotiation stage and you get this bad feeling, sometimes you get that intuition, and not just women, guys get intuition too, right? And you say, you know what? Just something about that guy I just didn't like. Run away. Because I can't tell you the hundreds of people in 35 years that come into my office and say, I knew that guy was a scoundrel from the beginning, but I just decided to go with him anyway. I felt sorry for him. And now you have a house that you can't get completed, and it's an issue. So go with your gut, I would say. Talk to people in the community, and they'll be honest. They will be brutally honest with you how their home performed and how they did with warranty items, if those are your concerns.
So also you mentioned that you will send out a survey, and I'm assuming for a developer, they finish 10,000 homes. Maybe every year you pick maybe 10% of the homes that they finished, you send them a survey?
No, the surveys go primarily to the contractors. They're the ones that we deal with. We don't deal with the residents per se, and we don't have information on them. We deal with the contractors, how my staff and them interacted, how we performed. It very rarely goes to the homeowners. I think it opens up a can of worms, for some folks, and then there's nothing we can do about it. They come in and say, my toilet just runs and runs and runs and runs. I don't want to have my staff going out there for what they get paid to tell somebody to go fix the toilet. That's a responsibility between the buyer and the builder.
So we have time for just 2 more questions for our group here tonight. Does anyone in the front or even behind me have any more questions for the team? Let's do a quick turn around here.
Are there ever inspections done with them, the workers? What are you talking about? Do they ever have inspections on them, not the customer? Related to the builders? Yes, but I'm wondering if there's a way that we can find out, like, if there's been an inspection done on the contractor. The work that the builders do.
Okay.
The contractor.
Yeah, when we do inspections, are you talking about like,
To find out, like, their capabilities.
not really. They have to meet certain standards in order to become licensed. They have to fill out an application, prove their experience, pass an exam, and they have to buy insurance, and basically that's kind of all they need. Now, we do have licensing investigators that periodically will go out to job sites to make sure that the people that are working are licensed. But so far as like that information on the builder, it's too nebulous. We get some people call up and say, man, I hate that builder. He's the worst builder in the world because I wanted celery green carpet and I got seafoam green carpet. So, we kind of stay away from that part. But we do have documentation in our office. And again, some of the best things you can do is to talk to a previous customer and say, they built your house, tell me what it is. And you have to kind of gauge what they tell you is what's most important and what isn't. Color carpet may not be a big issue for me. It is for my wife, but I can't tell you the difference between carpet colors because I'm colorblind. So, the builder wins. But no, they're very rarely do we do like analysis on builders. There's too darn many of them out there. No, I'm not recommending GL homes. Not recommending anybody. I use them as an example because I know we don't have any issues. But I caution my staff not to recommend because chances are the person you recommend could be great. And then you get him, and he's a scoundrel. He has to go through a divorce when he does your roof, and it takes him 8 months, where it took him 3 weeks to do Vinny's and 2 weeks to do mine. So it's kind of like we don't recommend. We used to give you like 3 names, but even that doesn't work sometimes either because I get a call. That guy never called me. I called him 12 times on Sunday. He never called me back. Guess what? He's not going to call you. Okay? After 12 times on a Sunday, he's not going to call you. So we recommend go with your gut, talk to other people. When that person comes to your house to give a proposal for your roof, say, what other roofs have you done over here? Or find out from Beth how many roofs they did and go knock on the door. How do you like your roof? How was it to deal with this contractor? Was he a good guy? Bad guy? My roofer said, we may miss a few nails. There may be some in your driveway. If you get a flat tire, send me the bill. I'll pay the bill and the towing. Now, we didn't have to use that, but there are some contractors that go over and above. And again, never get one price. get 3 prices, get 4 prices. If you got nothing to do, get 6. And don't always go with the cheapest guy. Right? Go with your gut. Gut works.
Awesome. Well, any final thoughts or questions for the team? Yes. All right. So you will be our last one. I'm coming here.
Found a builder on a lot. It's my understanding you don't need a permit to clear the land. But
Correct.
does somebody inspect that lot before the builder starts building the house?
No,
Why not?
there's nothing to inspect.
So we ran into a situation with our neighbors where the lot was cleared beside us and I guess it was kind of one of those, you know, the trees were hanging over, encroachment, bad encroachment. The builder purposely left the 2 trees there because they knew it was going to be expensive to remove them. And they were just going to let the new homeowner, you know, when they decided to sell it, just to be responsible for removing the trees. And I just remember calling the city and I, you know, spoke to, every department I was transferred to. I think the building department was one of them. And what I was finding out is they couldn't decide was it the building department's, responsibility because there was a house? Or was it still the vacant lot neighborhood services responsibility because they were still building?
Okay.
I was trying to help my neighbor behind me because, you know, just a lot of stuff happened. And we just all assumed that the builder would be taking those trees down. And we're watching the house be built and we're like, what are they doing? They're not taking them down. We went over to talk to the builder ourselves and they were the nastiest, rudest people. And also not getting a permit when you clear the land. Those people clearing the land, they can bang up the neighbor's stuff, their fences, their driveways, all kinds of stuff that they're not responsible for any of it.
Oh, no, they're responsible. So let's take one step at a time. Whose responsibility is it? The property owner.
It's not a sold house.
Yeah, but somebody owns,
Still owns it. The
who,
builder does. The builder
oh,
still owns
well, he's the responsible party because he owns the lot at that time, so he's responsible. Now, so far as doing damage to neighboring properties, oh, and that's what the court system is for.
it. Right, but
And,
that costs the homeowner money for something that.
well, in a small claims court, it doesn't cost a whole lot of money if the claim is like under $3,500. But most of the time, if you call that builder and you raise enough fuss, they will take care of it.
I'll tell you, we raised a fuss for months with the builder and nothing. They did eventually take care of the trees because, you know, I am a realtor, so I made sure the house wouldn't.
There you
close
go.
until then.
There, see?
After at the closing table, my neighbor who was buying the house, who we didn't even know, we walked over and said, don't close on this house if they're not gonna remove the trees. You know, it cost the builder $3,000 to remove those trees.
Right, but see,
Put on the new homeowner.
we don't know, when we go out to do an inspection, we don't know if that tree is intended to be there for the new owner. You know, we don't know the story of the tree. So we can't tell them to remove it or do anything. If the tree is in the drainage, obviously Public Works will have them remove it. But just because there's a building permit does not make it the building department's responsibility. It's the property owner's responsibility. It's like a code violation. There's a code violation on the property. We're not going after the tenant. He doesn't own the property. The person that owns the property is the owner of the property.
We were kind of hoping it would have been some sort of violation. It was just sad because the owner didn't care. I mean, he flat out said it, he just didn't care. He said, it's not my problem.
Yeah, it's $3,000.
Sad.
Yes.
I just noticed something now. When you're leveling the land, and it says grading is off, not level, you're building the house, and you find that the floors are not level. Okay? And the homeowner may not realize that problem when they close on the house. So what happens then? I mean, do you go to each of the new homes and you inspect the house for that purpose?
No, what happens when the contractor applies for a permit, he gets a survey. And the survey dictates the elevation of the property, that property is relatively flat within a tolerance, a minor tolerance. When they pour the foundation, Again, they get a form board survey that states the elevation of the property. There's a little bit of a tolerance in it, but unless we're talking like this, that buyer should have had that checked before they purchased the property. I don't know of any properties that have uneven floors or crooked floors. I don't know that, but there's a little bit of a tolerance in there. It's not a lot. It may be a 1/4 inch in like 25 or 30 feet, but it should be relatively level. You almost can't pour concrete unless it's level. Well, almost.
All right, so we are actually out of time. All good questions and good conversations that are definitely good to have with with the city team, and certainly we always hear concerns as well. So any other questions you all may have, you can always defer them to myself or Joel and his team for the building department. But we are actually 2 minutes over time, so I want to go ahead and let you all go for tonight. Can we give one last round of applause for our building department?
We have some bags of goodies in the back. Please take one when you leave in the white bags at the door, or Beth can hand them out to you. Thank you for coming, and if you have any questions or concerns, contact us. Thank you.
Take the leftover food as well, please, and the drinks. I'll see you guys 1 week from tonight.